So that's the starting point of this journey. And yeah, I have invited these researchers to reflect, and because it's, I don't think, and I don't believe in like art as a very, like a very individual or a separate entity as a practice. So I think, especially in relation to Dalit archive, it's still, we are yeah, fighting to create some memories. I mean, there are oral memories and so on, but in hegemonic historiography, we are completely erased or neglected. So to look into this colonial archive for us is two things. One, of course, it's happened in the colonial, you know, through the colonial eye, but at the same time, when we look back or to create a counter narrative, this is also kind of a interesting resource and a location. Yeah, this is where the journey starts, and then when I invite Rajasri Kudi, she's an amazing artist, and also working along with the Dalit archives in her practice, and she generously, yeah, because I mean I have to tell the story, like these works, Kritika coming from Sydney, she was carrying on her bag all the works through the airport. I mean, that's the way we want to really work in that way. I mean, we don't care about the institution, we don't care about the collections, we don't, you know, it's that kind of a journey. Yeah, so I invite Rajasri Guri to talk about her work.
Sure. Thank you, Sajan. Thank you everyone for coming. So Sajan invited me, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and it was just very interesting because he had this collection of colonial era ethnographic photographs of Indian people, and he wanted us to respond to them in some way. And I've always found it a bit difficult doing that because like I'm very interested in photography and how we document ourselves, but I think with when you add caste to it, and then you add like a colonial gaze to it, it's this like double colonization that happens. So you're looking at these photographs, all of colonial subjects, but then if you look at them with a lens of caste, you see lots of differentiations and just lots of pain in them. And the funny thing is that I don't think the colonizers necessarily cared who is who, and so they were like, the photographs of untouchable people are like sort of holding the same positions as photographs of high caste people, and that for me was very interesting. I think also coming from Dalit communities, we do have a very different, much more complicated relationship to colonization, which is not the same as upper caste people. So I was just very excited to do this show, and I just did a small response. There are basically 2 photographs over there that are wet. So they're like constantly leaking, so if you touch them, I mean, don't touch them, but if you want to, I mean, they'll kind of just like leak out, and they're meant to be destroyed by the end of the show. And they're off. This space is a picture of a school, and this is a picture of a well, and they're both like spaces where caste very actively functions, where my ancestors would not have been able to enter a school, nor would they have been able to enter a central well. So it's just accompanied with these like poems, recipes that I gather from Dalit literature. One is about Dalit children going to school, and one is about a Dalit person trying to access water from a well. So these are the two, wet images, and then that's just a picture of my family. Because I think in all of these photographs there is this lack of agency, and I really like to look at my own family photos as a important space of archiving that doesn't have to be in an institution for it to make meaning. That's it. I'll give it to Kirtika or okay, Kirtika.
I think you should go first.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Kirtika,
Yeah,
and
come to
I was happy there. I just wrote a few words. I'm the artist who brought the works from Sydney, and I just want to thank, of course, Sajan and everybody who's been part of this. So I think coming from Sydney, I think it really shows how far-reaching and active these questions of anti-caste are, and also the strength of our community globally. Earlier this year, I collaborated with Sajan on an exhibition at Sydney University to imagine what an archive and a Dalit museum would look like that celebrated our art and culture and our community. And as Anthony said earlier in the seminar, there's such a void, a lack of physical artifacts and personal objects from our communities. And from our history, but we do have a very rich literary culture. So these objects, my works are the ones on the floor here in this blue circle, and the works that are behind you, the 5 zinc etching plates. These fictional artifacts are inspired by the short stories of Marathi writer Baburao Babun, who has an incredible collection of short stories. I really recommend it. It's called When I Hid My Caste. And he has such a vividness in his writing style that I could see the personal belongings and the domestic world of each character. And I think just being part of this project, it's just thinking, what is past, and our history is sacred. And I think as artists, we have agency in creating our story. And to me, I think that's the positive that Dr. Sanal was talking about, and also the kind of agency that we have that our scholars were talking about earlier. I think that's all I have to say. Thank you.
It's very difficult for me to address a group of people to describe about my work which I have done here. But I have started with Sajan. When we become friends, I had done something similar connected with this project in that Binale in 2012. So we become friends and discuss about that work, and we started continuing the discussion process. Then when he invited here, I was planning to do something with that archival images which I have done in the Kochi Binale, but then in our meeting, then I thought of changing something, and it's like a float, flying back to here. Then I also felt like time traveling, to see our ancestors or something like that. So I changed the medium, and it's that's what I can.
Yeah, interestingly, he was also carrying all the paper, even the cutter through the airports. And he was cutting fast.
It's like a flow. It's a kind of decoding things from my mind to. There's no plan to it. My language is this, so.
Thank you. And these are two natural rubber sheets. I kind of transferred some of the photographs, but I want to take the photographs and then play with the gaze, something Burachan. And why natural rubber sheet is my parents were rubber tappers who, I mean like a rubber tree and they had to tap. When they were laborers, they were not owners of the plantation. So somehow rubber is very important for me in my work, and this is yeah, I transferred and play with the yeah, natural rubber sheet in my works. But for example, these are photographs. I mean, through this eugenic case or colonial case, and these German ethnographic expeditions were coming to where I born and grew up and take these photographs. But this was from group photographs where these subjects were just the objects. But I want to, you know, to take them out and make them ask, like, you know, this kind of gaze back in another way. And also, obviously, I'm also interested in modern humans and not only, yeah. So that's these two works, and there. So Hagenberg, this is a lot of photographs I find. Expedition Hagenberg, this guy, born and grew up in Halle, in Germany, and he also came to Kerala and take this kind of, you know, very eugenic or how would I say, to prove the scientific racism kind of, yeah, that kind of photographs, a lot of photographs are here. So yeah, I kind of play with the scale because they were putting scale to the people there, my ancestors. So and the behind, I was also working with oral history. There was a slave poet called Poigil Apazan, and he was singing the plight of the grandparents who killed in the fields as cows. So, and then he was singing, there is no words in the history about our, you know, our ancestors. So that's in Malayalam. So this is that poem in the beginning, in behind. So, but I took my artistic freedom to dance and play with it. Yeah.